It's not my job to know why they wanted me to stop at 10. My job is to know I'm supposed to stop at 10. They didn't authorize overtime, and that means I'm packing up. Hello, and welcome to the Your Creative Mind podcast. I'm your host, Izolda Trakhtenberg. Wow, it's been an interesting couple of weeks. I've taken a little wee break and I'm trying being bi-weekly with this show for a little while. I'm not sure how long that's going to last. There's just a lot going on, and I'm working out how to manage everything. So that's really interesting for me. Like, what am I doing? I've taken on kind of a full-time gig, and it is rewarding and fabulous, but it's also incredibly busy. I'm probably going to talk a little bit more about that in the next episode. But this episode, I wanted to say something about being an artist, creative, writing, performing, whatever, and getting paid. I know I've talked about this before. It's a really important topic, particularly if you are the artist, if you are the creative person. Often we get into this place of, and you've heard me talk about this if you're a long-term listener to this show or of this show, you've heard me talk about how many times people go, hey, you're an artist, but you do that on your own time. You still have to have a day job, or don't quit your day job. That's another thing artists hear a lot, We, especially in the USA, do not have a culture of artists being business people. We have a culture of, you have your day job, you might be a barista, you might be all these other things, you might be an accountant or a lawyer, and then you do your art, your creative work outside of the time when you're working to get paid, because we don't think that paying artists is something that we should do in this country. Other countries have it different. They do things differently. They honor their artists as craftspeople, as work people, as art workers, and these people get paid a wage, a living wage, to do their art. And there's a whole episode to be done about what that means. What if you're an artist and you're really great and you get paid? That's wonderful. What if you're an artist and you're not so great, or you're a beginner and this is all you want to do? How do you get paid for doing that? Or is there always going to be that transition time between you having a day job of one sort or another and you doing your art full time as your paying gig? And there's another episode that can be had all about what happens to you psychologically and emotionally and even physically when you make your hobby, your artistic creative hobby, into your regular gig. Lots of things going on there. The thing that I want to talk about right now and today is a friend of mine on Facebook put up a thing, a meme, I guess, that says how to say, quote, sorry, I'm not doing that for free, close quote. And I'm going to paraphrase what they say. And then I'm going to give you the thing that sort of works for me that I've been using, and it works incredibly well, to sort of weed out the people who just want you to do it for free. You know, it'll be great exposure. That's a no-no. If you're an artist, don't do things for exposure. Just don't. As Rich, my husband, says, exposure can kill you. The thing about this is that there is this, again, this feeling, this perspective, I guess, this point of view in the USA especially, that an artist is just dying to do their art for free. And maybe they are. Maybe they are a doctor who really wants to do stand-up comedy and doesn't care if they get paid. They just want to be up there on open mic nights. If that's you, go you. If you're trying to make this your gig, your day job is your art, that's a different story, because you'll get all sorts of pressure to be the person who does it for free because you love it so much. And I've had that happen. I remember back in my Earth Lady days, I'm not doing that so much anymore, but back in my Earth Lady days when I was doing assemblies and programs and still working for the government periodically as a contractor, actually no, I had stopped doing the contracting work, but they still all knew me as the Soil Lady or the Earth Lady. And if I say so myself, my soil science presentations were legendary. People knew stuff I did and the way I did it all around the world. and emulated it, which was very wonderful and heartwarming, and also super cool that they were doing the soils part, because that is the most difficult part, both to teach and to learn. And to teach it effectively, you had to make it fun and inspiring and compelling and exciting, which, again, if I say so myself, I was pretty good at doing. After I had already left, NASA had no real dealings with them at all anymore, and was working in schools as someone who was doing school assemblies and programs called the Earth Lady, where I was doing atmosphere, hydrology, biosphere, and pedosphere, the soils. I would come in and I would do these workshops and assemblies with mostly K through 8, kindergarten through 8th graders. And I'd, of course, get paid for it. And it could be the school got a sponsor from a local business, or the school had enough money in their PTA budget to do that. However they did it, that part wasn't really my business. It was work for hire, right? I wanted to do the presentation. They wanted me to do the presentation, and it all worked out. I remember very clearly getting a phone call from someone who said, hey, we're doing a big meeting. Government is doing a big meeting, and we'd love for you to come and do the Soil Lady presentation, your Soil Lady presentation in Florida. And I went, great, what's your budget? And the person went, well, we thought you would do it for the love of the game. And I went, no. No, that's not it. That's not how it's going to happen. And but there is no budget for you to do this. Okay, well, here's my question to you then. Are you going to get paid for this event in Florida? Well, yes, it's my job, was the response. And I went, well, yes, it's my job too. So we could do it this way. If you want to split your salary for the week with me, you get paid half, I get paid half of your salary. That would work for me. Well, no, this is my job. Absolutely. And I'm not doing my job for free if you're doing your job and getting paid. Now, I don't want to sound snarky about this, but that is really the way to look at it. And that is what I say. Because in this little meme, the how to say, sorry, I'm not doing that for free meme, there's this oeuvre, if you will, this patina of, do you think this could be something that I get paid for? Because listen to what it says. Thank you for thinking me. This sounds like a great fit. And can I just check whether or not this is a paid opportunity? Don't do that. Don't check to see if it's a paid opportunity, because immediately you're leaving the door open for them to go, well, actually, no. That's not how you want to negotiate that at all. Always ask immediately, what's your budget? Because then they know you expect to be paid. You are not someone who ever took free gigs. Why? Because if you ever took a free gig before, why, they think you might be willing to take a free gig today, right? And here's another one. This sounds like such an interesting project. Here's a link to my current services, blah, blah, blah. And here's a media kit, and here's all this stuff. That's lovely. But again, we're not talking money. And the thing is, and this is something you will learn about negotiation, if you haven't already learned it, the person who mentions the actual sum first pretty much has already lost the negotiation. That's it. And sometimes you don't get the gig. I was up for this really cool, this woman has gotten a community center gig where she's working with a community center to do, and I don't even know quite how to explain it. It's professional modeling, it's performing arts, and she had the idea that she wanted to make an arm of this thing, an arm of her project, voice acting. And I heard about it and I submitted, hey, this is my idea for being the person who teaches the arm of this. And she wanted to interview me. We met, we interviewed, and she said, what would you charge for something like this? And I said, well, what's your budget? And she said, I don't know. And there's the negotiation. And finally I went, you know what? I kind of got the feeling that I was out of her price range, and I gave her the bottom of the barrel price for what I was going to do. And she went, oh, that's way too much. And I said, you know what? Why don't you get back to me? Because at that point I already knew it wasn't happening, because my bottom of the barrel was way too much for her. It wasn't going to happen. And sure enough, it didn't. Right. And I knew that. The psychology behind me giving her my numbers meant that I was either going to lose the negotiation or not have the gig, not take the gig. And I was willing to let it go. And that's another part of this is you have to be willing to let it go. It has to be something you go, that's okay. This isn't for me. And that's just fine. And that's the point. Know yourself, right? If you really need the gig and you're willing to take $25 an hour to do this, not that that was the number that she wanted to pay me because I never got her numbers, but I was willing to let the gig go because it wasn't that compelling. It did, however, make me go, oh, I could create my own classes and do voice acting. Now, I know there's a lot of stuff going on with AI right now, and people are using people's voices and all of that without their permission, which is illegal. But yeah, this is one of those things that we have to think about. If it's something you want to do, great. If it's something you go, oh, you know what, this is a good jumping off point for me to do this kind of thing on my own, because this is an arm of what she's doing, but what if I come up with my own? And I have. And I'm going to be applying for some grants to do fun voice acting stuff with students, probably 5th through 8th, so middle school, of kids who want to do it, who have AV classes or choir or theater classes, with whom I could do a voice acting thing once a week for a few weeks or something like that. And that would be really cool. And I'm doing it. I've already started applying for the grants. And that is doable. It's possible. And that's what I learned from that interaction, from that interview, because she did let me know, oh, I decided to go in a different direction. No problem. The thing is, I know my presentation was pretty stellar, and she may have even taken some of the ideas I gave her and will be using it with the person she did decide to book. And you know what? I feel like Kevin Kelly from Wired Magazine, the guy who started Wired Magazine, I have thousands of ideas. If somebody takes one of my ideas and runs with it, because I never did, okay, that happens. I will probably never use all of the ideas I have, and that's fine. Not that I'm giving you permission to run with any of my ideas, but I figure if somebody takes it and I'm not doing anything with it, okay. Having said all of that, here's the thing. She went through and decided that somebody else was a better fit, maybe because of what they were offering, maybe because of what they were charging, maybe because of the experience they had. Honestly, it's none of my business. It's no longer my project. I moved on. But this whole idea of charging what you're worth is very important. Other gigs that I have applied for, new year, new rates. And somebody came in and offered me last year's rates. And because I love him as an agent, I went, okay, can you up my rate a little bit? And this is the rate I want. And he went, let me check. And if he comes back and says, I can't, and this is a gig in, I think in March, and if he comes back and says, I can't up the rate, I will probably do it for him, because I've worked with him many, 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 many times over the years and adore him. And he apologized. He was like, ooh, so sorry. I should have checked with you about what your rates are this year. Because for me, all the agents, all the clients know, new year, new rates. That's what I do. And so when we don't let people know, if they assume, then it's up to us to sort of backtrack and walk them back and go, no, here it is. But if we go, hey, new year, new rates, please remember this is my rate now, then they know, and they know to put it in their budget for whatever event that they're planning. That becomes an important part of this, right? If you want me to participate, now you know what my fees are for 2026, 2027, whatever it is. Really important. So here is another one. Thank you so much for considering me for this. I'm not able to take on any unpaid projects. Whoa, don't even put that in there. Do not put in, I'm not able to take on. You're a professional. You should not even be considering unpaid projects. Full stop. That's it. That's all you need to, you don't need to say, I'm not able to take them on. Right? Honestly, this is one of those things, and not to denigrate the person who wrote this meme. I don't know who the person is, but you don't do that. You don't even bring up unpaid unless it is someone you reach out to volunteer for them. Like for me, it's battered women in children's shelters. I've done volunteer work for House of Ruth, for animal shelters, for rescues. Absolutely. I will do. And again, at my own behest. It's not, if someone reaches out to me who's an animal shelter and they want me to do work, like I used to do this thing for a cat adoption service, they were running on a shoestring. I would go and take photographs of the cats and then turn them into beautiful social media posts about the cats. And I would paint paintings behind the cats, these backdrops that were really fun. That was up to me to do, right? It wasn't, I decided. And as a professional, you get to decide when you're going to do what, always. And you may forego gigs, or you may decide, you know what, this gig is going to be so good for my career, I'm going to do it for free. You can decide that. I have gotten to the point where you got to find something, and it doesn't have to be monetary. For example, if you want me to travel to a gig, but you just don't have the money to pay me, I better have a professional videographer there to give me great video for my own promo, great photographs. You better be putting me up in a hotel. You better be paying for my meals. And I am sorry if I sound hard-ass about it. I'm not trying to be hard-ass. I'm trying to say it's very important for us as professionals to behave professionally. That's how it is. And here's another one. Ooh, thanks so much. Out of respect for my paying clients, that implies that you might have unpaying clients or non-paying clients. Don't do that. This is so important. Do not give any indication that you've ever had any unpaying clients or that you ever take any unpaying clients, because it immediately makes them go, but we're worthy of your time for free. Come on, just this once. And this happens to me at reading gigs all the time. I'm there from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. reading, and this one person goes, oh, I'll come later. They don't want to stand in line. And here's the problem. The first few, I'd say 20 minutes I'm there, generally nobody comes for the reading. They don't. Why? Because they don't know if you know your stuff. They don't know anything. So I'm sitting there maybe 10, 15 minutes by myself. Finally, somebody comes in, gets a reading. They go, oh my God, this was great. And they move on and they start telling their friends. And all of a sudden there are 50 people waiting in line. And there's someone inevitably who is at the event who wants to wait until the end because they don't want to stand in line. I get it. You don't want to stand in line, but the chance that you're taking is that there won't be any time for you. And inevitably, that person will show up as I'm starting to pack up because it is 10 and they did not authorize, the person who booked me for the gig did not authorize overtime, because generally I will make myself available for overtime if you want to pay me my rate, the organizers of the event. But they come, this one person will always show up and they go, oh, come on. Can't you do just one more reading? Please, I really want my reading. I'm sorry. I have to pack up. I was only here till 10 p.m. Oh, come on, just for me. No one else has to know. That's another one. First of all, I don't care if anybody else knows or doesn't know. Quite frankly, I don't give a crap. I'm done. I was here until 10 p.m. And if they're not authorizing overtime, I'm out. This is not to say that I didn't have a great time and that it wasn't a wonderful event and all of these other things. But the time to stop contractually is the time to stop. And sometimes I'm tired, but sometimes the event organizers have a cutoff point because they are contracted. They're contracted with the venue to be done by a certain point. They cannot have events or participating things in the event going on after the time they're supposed to have stopped. It's not my job to know why they wanted me to stop at 10. My job is to know I'm supposed to stop at 10. They didn't authorize overtime, and that means I'm packing up. But that one person who is inevitably wanting me to work for free, they don't care, which means to me that they don't respect me as a professional. And that's the kind of person I would never work for, ever, ever, ever. Now, I've had people like that go to the event organizer and go, I really want a reading. And the event organizer will come over and go, okay, I'm going to authorize 15 minutes of overtime if you can stay. And then if I can stay, I'm sure, absolutely. But I'm not going to not get paid for it. And I was sort of the lead reader at a gig of 3 readers, I think, maybe 4 readers. I don't remember at the moment. But I was the lead reader. In other words, I was the person doing the administrative work for this gig. And the woman she asked us to start a little early. And I'm like, okay, but please understand that if we begin early, that means that we either stay 5:30 to 9:30 instead of 6 to 10, or you're going to need to authorize overtime if you want us from 5:30 to 10. And she was the gig organizer, so she went, yes, great. We were able to do that, and I let the agent know there was overtime. And sometimes you don't talk to the event organizer and then they go, no, I didn't authorize that. And then you eat the money. You cannot, there's nothing you can do. So you need to have permission for that. And you're still a professional, and you're a professional who honors the contract, right? This is so important. So what is it that we ask first? As soon as someone calls you to do a gig for them, whether it's performing or magic or juggling or readings or writing, whatever it is. Oh, that's terrific. Thank you so much for thinking of me. What's your budget for this? And as soon as they say, oh, I thought you might do it for free. Thank you so much for your interest. Please let me know when you have the budget. Then we can speak again. We're done. This isn't a game. I mean, unless you want to treat your professional creative career as a game. If so, go you. And again, I'm not trying to be a hard ass. I'm just trying to be very practical here. We artists, creatives, writers, performers, jugglers, clowns, readers, whoever we are, we need to treat ourselves as professional, because if we don't, how on earth can we expect anyone else to? If you want to be treated like a professional, you have to act like one. Full stop. Alrighty. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. This is Izolda Trakhtenberg for the Your Creative Mind podcast, reminding you as always to be curious, be creative, and most of all, be kind. Thanks so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you being here. Please subscribe to the podcast if you're new, and it would mean the world to me if you told a friend about it. Today's episode was produced by Izolda Trakhtenberg and is copyright 2025. As always, please remember this is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Past performance does not guarantee future results, although we can always hope.